Hi, I'm James with TVS Pro doing another DJI video here for you. This one on the Osmo. If you saw the previous video on unboxing and the setup of it, we're going to skip all that, but we will link that video in the comments so you can watch that if you need to. This one is going to be more so focusing on the app and what features are available through there so you can take full advantage of the Osmo. We've really enjoyed playing with it. We think you guys will like it too. For a $649 purchase, and everything that it comes with and does is pretty remarkable. So we tip our hat to DJI once again. First thing you're going to want to do is power it on. It says to keep it still when you power it on. I've been resting it on a table. I don't know if that's too much or not. You guys be the judge. It's what I've been doing. So when I power it on, gimbal does its little jig. I'm going to want to go into my settings, and I am using iOS device, but it is compatible with Android, whatever device you're using to access the DJI Go app. We really like that DJI has moved everything to that app. Your Phantom 3, Inspire, and now with the Lightbridge 2, your Spreading Wing series, and now of course the Osmo. Makes it really nice, user-friendly, so you only have one app to learn. So you can see my Osmo network is there. I touch it, and when I get a check mark here, knowing that we are connected at that point, perfect. I can go back out of here, open up my DJI Go app, and once I get a green kind of thumbs up here, there it is, Osmo connected. So I can click on camera, and actually before I do that, I'm going to click on the bottom right where it says me. This is just showing login. I'd recommend making sure that you are logged in with your DJI account. I've seen people have glitches or bugs with firmware updates and things like that when they are not logged in. So just make sure you are logged into your account before you start doing or operating anything, or especially doing your firmware updates. If I go back out to bottom left on the equipment, I can click on camera, wait for it to initialize there, flip it sideways. Hey, and you can see Jake, there he is. So we're going to work our way, I'm going to put it over into stills, and we're going to work our way kind of from the top and work our way around clockwise around the screen. So I've got everything in automatic. You can see my ISO set at 100. There's my shutter speed, 1/15th, my speed of my lens, f2.8, my exposure value, and it says I can do 3,411 JPEGs. This is the battery life on the Osmo, and this is telling me how good my connection is. Now this is just a Wi-Fi connection, so I have not tested this range yet, but it's going to be like any Wi-Fi, maybe even a little bit weaker because it's in such small form factor. 30, 40, maybe 50 feet, I don't know. You guys play with it. Leave us some comments and tell us what your range is. Moving on from there, this is your automatic exposure, whether it is unlocked or locked. So for example, I've got an asteroids game over here. If I touch this, it's going to auto expose. There you can see it kind of lightened up that corner over there. And as I move things around, it could auto expose to that same spot. But if I want that same exposure to stay, well then I can lock it. And now no matter what I do as I move it around, my gimbal and things, it will stay locked to there, okay? But if I unlock it, you can see that it dims back down, and it's going to auto expose for whatever it is that, you know, my main subject is in the center of my frame there. So going over top right, home, that just takes me back to my home. So I'm not going to worry about that. What's nice is that a lot of these features that you can touch on the app, I can do with this trigger here on front. So let me show you. So if I touch that gimbal symbol, it adds two more features here. The arrow means centered, so it just recenters everything, and then this is my lock. So let me show you what it does. If I lock this and I move it around, you can, oh, I didn't touch it, I fat fingered it, there we go. Now it's locked. So now I've got this angle locked. So as I tilt it or pan, whatever I do, it's locked onto that position. I've locked that tilt angle. Well, I can touch my arrow or my center, my camera recenters. Now I can do all of that. I don't have to touch it. I can do that with the trigger here. So if I hold this down, now I can move it and does the same thing. You can see that my yellow locking symbol is locked there. And if I rotate it and let go, Well, it now calibrates that as center. So now as I move it, oh no, it's staying locked. That's right, because I pushed the trigger. So it's staying locked, but if I double tap it, it will now go to center. So there you go, easier. You can do it on the app if you want to, or you can do it there in the trigger. Okay, so if I touch my gimbal symbol up here one more time, brings that down. Auto white balance, you can play with these. This is just going to adjust depending on where you're at. Shooting at night, shooting in the middle of the day, shooting indoors. You can leave it on auto. All those different kinds of features. I'm going to select auto again and then touch this top one to get that menu to disappear one more time. On the bottom right, I've got a gear. Okay, so if I touch this guy, this is really where you can customize everything with your Osmo. So if I go to camera, the top one is my video resolution, and this is where I'm going to change my, not just my resolution, but my frame rates. And if you scroll all the way down, you'll notice there's my 120 frames per second at 1080. Okay, I've got it right now at Ultra HD 24 frames a second. Its top res with top frame rate is of course true 4K at 24 frames. I kind of like Ultra HD at 30 frames, or I also kind of like my 1080 at 60 frames. Depends on what I'm doing, whether I want to slow it down and post. It's totally your call. We'll leave it there. I can change my video format, MOV or MP4. I can turn my audio on and off. So on the front of your Osmo, you've got a built-in microphone, and I also have an input. Now there are some accessories where I can add second arms to this and add a second rosette, and I could take a DSLR lav mic, shoe it onto some of those accessories, and then plug it into here. I could mic somebody with a wireless lav set and do it that way. Either way, if I go into here, it will give me some decent embedded audio, so I don't have to worry about matching that later on. If I don't want that audio, then obviously I can touch it, turn it off. Okay. It does give you the option to do PAL or NTSC. Obviously, in North America, you're going to want to keep it into NTSC. Video captions if you need them, 16:9 or 4:3. You can change your JPEGs. This is all very similar to the Inspire X3 because it is the X3. So you can shoot JPEGs, you can shoot RAWs, or it can do both. Okay. Time-lapse format, is it in video or JPEGs in video? Histograms, I actually kind of like this histogram feature, and I added that center point here. You can see my bottom right here is selected, and so that just shows me what is the center of my frame here. I can add all sorts of grids, or I can just select none. I kind of like having that center point there. Go back out. I like having my auto flicker rather than at 50 hertz or 60. Depends on your connection. If you're experiencing kind of troublesome, then you know, leave it in auto, play with it, change it, slow it down, whatever you need to do. I'm not going to worry about anything else there in the camera. Gimbal. Now, if you're familiar with the Ronin, this is going to look very similar to you. Smooth track settings. Smooth track is DJI's kind of trademark term for tracking. All it is tracking. Okay, so if I take my gimbal, I double tap this and recenter it. As I rotate, how responsive do I want the camera or the gimbal to respond to my movements? That's what it's referring to as far as your smooth track. Okay. So if I scroll down, I've got my smooth track adjustments, pan and your tilt, and I can adjust my speed, my deadband, or my acceleration. Speed is going to be how quick it moves, okay? 100 I actually think is pretty high. So I'm going to take this down and we'll go halfway. We'll go to 50, say save. Scroll back down, go over to here. Scroll this one down to, oops, I passed it. This one go down to 50 as well. And deadband, now a better word for deadband is maybe tolerance is what they're meaning. So let's say I was on a galloping horse. I would want a high tolerance because I'm going to be moving quite a bit while I'm doing that. So I'm going to want a high tolerance. Well, if I'm just walking around, then I'm going to want this pretty responsive. So I need to do less movements to get it to respond. So if I were on a galloping horse, as I mentioned, I want a high tolerance or a high deadband. I'm going to leave it at 1 since we're walking around with it at this point. And then acceleration is after I rotate this gimbal, the speed is that initial, or the acceleration is the initial movement from the gimbal once I rotate it. So it's that off the line, so to speak, from the starting line. And then the speed is how quickly is it going to catch up. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, send me your emails. My email is jamesb@tvspec.com. I mentioned that in all my videos. Send me your questions if you're having troubles with this. But again, if you're familiar with DJI's Ronin products, that menu is almost identical. Now, you've also on the back here got a joystick. And I can rotate this camera up, down, left, right. And I've got these pretty darn low. My smoothing and my speed, I've got those pretty low. So I have to move this joystick a lot if I want the camera to move. Well, I can play with those settings there if I want to. As you're doing different applications and shooting different things, you'll figure out which of these settings are best for whichever applications that you're wanting to use it for. Okay. From there, I can go into my general. Not a whole lot that you need to worry about here. I think the biggest thing that you're going to use in here is obviously formatting your SD card, which you can click right there. Okay, those are your settings. If we now, more exciting is getting into some of the features that are here. Okay, so if I've got I'm in my stills here. Okay, so I'm going to click on my photograph image there, and this opens up all of my different options. I've got some time lapse. So right now I'm in single photograph. So as I press my shutter button here on my handle, if I press that, snaps a picture. Okay, I can do HDR, high dynamic range. It's kind of going to make the best of those colors as possible. So I do that, and it'll take a little bit more to process. iPhones I know do this. I'm familiar with iOS. I don't know if Android does the same things, but as you take an HDR photograph or a high dynamic range photograph, it takes a little bit more to process, and it kind of just pops those colors just a little bit. Okay, I can go into multiple. Now I can do 3, 5, or 7 frames per second, and these guys, the 3 auto exposure balances, I believe what these are. So as it's doing a quick, frames per second, 3, 5, or 7, it's also auto exposing at that same time. I have yet to really play with this feature. Panoramic, this is kind of cool, and I'm going to demonstrate this here. So if I've got my my Osmo here, and I'm going to put it back down on the table to keep this still, I've got a full panoramic, or I've got a selfie panoramic, which is kind of cool. So if I leave it in selfie, if I hit my shutter button now, what it's going to do is 180 degrees from where it is facing, take a picture, take a picture, take a picture, and now it's going to automatically stitch those photos together. And so now I've got, and as we wait here for it to generate, a self panoramic view. So I could climb to Mount Everest. I probably would die if I did that, but if I had made it to the top of Everest, I could take my Osmo out, hold it, and do a 180 degree panoramic selfie, and there you go. Pretty cool. If I were to go out, oh, and sorry, side note, this photo, this generated photo, is now going to dump it into the photo app on your iOS device or your Android device. So if you take your SD card out, put it into a computer, it's going to show you those individual photos that it just took. It's not going to show you this rendered or stitched together panoramic. It saves that into your phone, directly onto your phone. I was having trouble finding that, and all of a sudden I went into my photos and I saw it. So FYI there. If I go back into my panoramic, I can do auto, and if I take this picture, now it's going to start here and go 360 degrees all the way around, and it'll stitch those together for a panoramic. Kind of some cool features that DJI is doing with this. The experience that I've had, even with moving objects, I've done this where people are moving around, and it actually does a really good job at capturing images or people movement, and it doesn't blur it out. It actually did a decent job. So we'll see what this as it generates here, what our 360 degree image, so I can zoom in, scroll over, and there's my 360-degree image there. And again, I could go into my photos of my phone and find it there. Moving on, intervals. I can do just, this is time, just taking, so if I had this on a tripod, I could hit the shutter button, run around to the other side and join the rest of the group to do a group photo or whatnot. Very common in point and shoot cameras. Time lapse. This is going to be a cool feature to play with. So the intervals, this is saying how often do I want to take a picture. So let's just say I have it set at 1 second and I want to do it for 5 minutes. Well, you'll notice as I'm changing this duration here, the generated video is increasing. So the longer I sit still, or if I have this set to a tripod, so for example, if I let it record or take stills for time lapse for 20 minutes, it will generate a 40-second video. I'm going to show you if I go to my bottom right and click play, and it's going to show me some of the photos and videos that I've been taking and just kind of playing with it. Well, the other day I was playing with it and I did this. So that's time lapse, really cool. And that's the last feature on there. So if I switch this over to video now, there's slow motion that I can put it into, or there's video. That's it as far as stills and video goes. And if I didn't show you already, I don't think I did. So your shutter button is here, record button, and then your joystick. And so you can do everything that I'm doing and touch your device if you want to, but really you can mount it into here. The only reason I don't have it in here is because I'm going HDMI into my monitor here, and but you can stick it into here and just control it all with your thumb and your trigger finger. Nice. If I move just below my record button here, I've got my automatic feature. So obviously I've got it in auto, but if I need to, I can put it into shutter priority. So as I change my shutter speed, then it will adjust my ISO and my exposure value accordingly, with shutter being the priority. If I want, I can do full manual, and then I can change my ISO as I need to. It's pretty dark, so if I go up to about 800, maybe lower my shutter speed a little bit, there's my exposure value is what it's equivalent to. I can do all that, and then I can go back out of there and it will retain those settings. If I want to go back into auto, I can just touch my adjustments there, go back into auto, and it does all that for me. And then of course, bottom left is the play, so you can go back and review those photos and videos that you shot with it. And then this is showing me my record time at 4K at 24. As you change these resolutions and your frame rates, this time will increase or decrease. So with a 16 gig card that it comes with, that's telling me that I've got about 30 minutes of recording time. And that's including everything else that I've shot into here. If you've got questions, feel free again to send me an email at jamesb@tvspec.com. Show us your stuff. We're interested in seeing what you guys are doing with this. And thanks for watching. Good luck.